I'm Cindy Nguyen, and in this video I will be explaining parts about the unit circle. So there are some things you want to know beforehand, like examining the angle in standard position and reference angles. When the initial side, which is the red line in this picture, or the start of the angle, rotates to the green line, which is the terminal side, it determines an angle. When you rotate counterclockwise, it will create a positive angle, which is shown in this picture. And when you rotate clockwise, it will create a negative angle. So now let's move on to reference angles. The dictionary definition is that for any non-quadrantal angle theta, the reference angle is the acute angle formed by the terminal side of theta and the x-axis. So in this picture, the reference angle is 75 degrees because it was formed by the terminal side of 105 degrees. So 105 and 75 create supplementary angles because they add up to 180. And a reference angle can be used to find all trig functions of the original angle, which can be seen under the definition, where sine 105 degrees equals 97 hundredths, and sine 75 degrees also equals 97 hundredths. So let's start off with the unit circle. It is called a unit circle because of the radius of the circle is 1. So to explain, I made a positive angle theta, and for now we are going to be wanting to think about the point of intersection between the terminal side of the angle and the circle, which I labeled x, y. So I created a right triangle out of this angle by dropping altitude from the terminal side to the x. And it is going to help us extend our traditional definitions of trig functions, which is sine, cosine, and tangent. So for sine, it is so, which means opposite over hypotenuse. And for cosine, it is ca, which stands for adjacent over hypotenuse. Then TOA for tan stands for opposite over adjacent. So let's first start off with cosine theta. So adjacent to theta is x, and you're going to be dividing it by the hypotenuse, which is 1. This is the same thing as saying that cosine is equal to the x-coordinate of where the terminal side intersects the unit circle. So let's move on to sine of theta. So opposite to theta is y, and divided by the hypotenuse 1, it gives us y. So it is also the same as saying sine is equal to the y-coordinate of where the terminal side intersects the circle. To find tan, you are going to be dividing the sine by cosine, which is x over y. Okay, so let's start off with an example problem. It gives us 15 degrees, and it asks us what is the value of the y-coordinate of point A, which means 15 degrees is probably a reference angle. So it asks us about y-coordinate, and as I said before, cosine is equal to the x-coordinate of where the terminal side intersects the unit circle. This means that we can cross out anything cosine. So this leaves us with A, C, and E. Since it is a reference angle, it is also part of a supplementary angle, which means the whole entire thing added together would equal 180 degrees, crossing out E because that is more than 180 degrees. So to find the original angle, we are going to subtract 180 by 15 degrees, which gives us the total of 165. And since we crossed out cosine before, this leaves us with the answer C, sine 165 degrees. Moving on to example problem number 2. This question asks us, which of the coordinates is equal to cosine 160 degrees? Since it is asking about cosine, we can automatically cross out B, D, and F because y-coordinate refers to sine. So I started by labeling the graph by 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees, and by putting an initial line so then it'd be easier for you guys to see. So let's start by making the terminal side of point A. From the initial side, the red line to the green line, the terminal side, it will give us an angle that is less than 90 degrees. This means that is not the answer, so we can cross out A. Now we're going to be moving on to point B. This point is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees, which means it is possibly the answer. But let's check by looking at point C. Point C is between 180 degrees and 270 degrees. This means that it is a lot more than 160 degrees, which means it is not the answer. So going back to point B, it is between 90 and 180, which means it is probably 160 because it looks close, you know? And this leaves us with the answer of C, because cosine is x coordinate and point B is between 90 to 180. That is all, guys. Thank you.